This is a redirect video for Assassination Classroom, episode 13, 14, 15, and 16, 4-episode reaction, including the ending and a little after credit scene on the first episode, so on and so forth. Click the link in the description below to go watch my reaction to it, and then come back here to see my full theories, ideas, all that kind of stuff. This is going to be a long one, so it's a potentially long one, so bear with me there. So yeah, go watch the episodes for yourself. So that way you're not spoiled, because I will be spoiling what happened in these 4 episodes. So go watch it for yourself, and then come back here to see my full review of these episodes, and so on and so forth. Yeah, click away now, or you'll be spoiled as to what happened. Okay, freaking awesome episodes. Highly enjoyed them. It was super cool. Like I said at the very end of the reaction, I mean, there's not a lot of fighting, just a little bit with Kaino and a little smidge of the end of the wait, principal. I kept trying to say, my mind kept saying president, and I'm like, no, it's not the president. The principal of the school, the little tidbit at the start of 13. I guess half of 13 was kind of that. Anyways, so yeah, a lot of information. A lot of my one of my theories did in a way come true to some degree. A little bit different. I'll get to that when I get to it. But yeah, so I want to talk about real quick the principal and how he used to be a teacher at the E-Class building before it was built. The E-Class building, it was known as Cram School, I think it was. And they got more popular over the years, people graduating, all that kind of stuff. And then he learned about, or no, was it while he was still in that building, or was it his new building that he realized? Okay, I think it was the other way around. Yeah. So in his old building, at the actual Assassination Classroom building, he learned about one of his first students that he helped teach, decided to end it thanks to some bullies and stuff, I guess, on the basketball team. I think that's what it was like insinuating. It was kind of like basketball team kind of like really hating on him, whatever. But yeah, so he ended up ending it there. And then the principal kind of going ape after that. He decided to turn his attention towards drastic measures of teaching skills and stuff like that. I'm wondering if right now, since he's been defeated, in a sense, you know, I think he might revert back to that kind of state of, like, you know, actual just like Koro Sensei kind of thing, like teach for the good of teaching kind of thing, instead of what he is now, which is like teaching for the good of force teaching, I guess, something. I don't know. He wants the kids to not be weak in any form. He wants them to be like the best they can be in every aspect of the way. So, like, you know, I think fighting and that kind of thing too, to some degree, the self-defense or something like that, but mentally as well, just like at all aspects. But yeah, he learned from his time at Cram School and learned new tricks and everything to be turning into the person he is now. He learned how to kind of manipulate students and that kind of thing, and learned to use that to his advantage when teaching. And then, I guess, turning into the principal of the school. And he wanted to get every advantage he could while, you know, doing it, whatever. So he got the military grant, or whatever, military offer, to have Koro Sensei there, and you know, everything that happened basically was just to kind of get teachers and funding and everything to help support his, in a way, bloodlust. But it was kind of like it was not bloodlust per se, because he wasn't doing it just for blood or like death or revenge or anything like that. He was determined to change um, what could happen to some degree to each of the kids that he teaches. Because he had 3 kids, the very first cram school. Those kids graduated, and one of those kids ended up killing themselves, basically. And the other 2 kids, went off to do their own thing, kind of thing. We never heard anything about them. So he's thinking about that one kid, and he doesn't want anybody else to go through that, kind of thing again. So he's wanting his whole curriculum to help every kid, basically, and be the best it can be. And I guess kind of prove to themselves, the kids, that they themselves are kind of like don't stand at the bullies kind of thing in a way. Because like they said that like near the start of the show when in season 1, they were mentioning how everybody doesn't really care for bullies. They just kind of just do their own thing at the school, and all the bullies end up getting pushed down to E class. So that's where E class kind of gets all their students from. Is all the bullies and like people who don't really care for class too much. They ended up going there. So in a way, it's the exact opposite of what like normal school is. How like the bullies are the ones who typically sometimes get a pass and end up staying in school, and then all their bullying and everything kind of results for kids to kind of take their own life and everything. So he kind of is fixing that with the whole E-class thing and trying to get them special help in some degree, because they're out of the normal kids' way. They're like out in the forest or whatever like that, on the mountainside or whatever, where the old cram school was. And they can just kind of be there and do their own thing away from the other kids. So in a way, that it is helping. But I mean, it is helping. Like straight up, it genuinely is helping. Having that kind of situation, but he's going like military, sort of like needs to always stay this way and never falter kind of thing. Like he went dedicated to that route, like 100%, and he wanted to stick with that and everything, which is really interesting. So it did kind of turn the whole principle into a different. It painted him into a different picture, definitely in my mind. Because before I was just like, this guy is like the worst human being in the world, kind of thing. Like the way he was like hurting his kids, the students and everything in his room, the way he treats his son, all that kind of stuff. But knowing what he did and what happened, sort of, I mean, it doesn't resolve him, of course, but it kind of, I can understand where he's coming from now, and I can understand where he was trying to go to, kind of thing, or what he's trying to do. But yeah, it's pretty brutal, gruesome, whatever. The whole outcome of like everything, not only what he's done, but the kid that took his life, I mean, everything like that. Yeah. Now on to Kora Sensei. Jesus Christ. Actually, well, I should say Kora Sensei slash Kaino, because both of them were kind of intertwined, like in their own story. So my main theory, going in to season 1 or whatever, I had a theory about Kora Sensei being an experiment, which he was. Some kind of experiment gone wrong, explosion, some kind of thing. Kind of the same, but not really, kind of thing. So in that way, I was wrong in that sense. But it was, in a way, an explosion of power, anyways. Hurting a teacher, which came true. Well, in a way, I mean, she was kind of she jumped up to kind of try to stop him from running away, to cause him mayhem, got in the way of one of the mines, and ended up dying for it. But he wanted to kind of, or he saw that, and he wanted to give back. And he was even saying too, the tentacles were asking him what he wanted, and he told them exactly what he wanted, and the tentacles listened. And I think that's where him and the other experiments kind of differ, because all of them want revenge and like bloodshed and all this kind of stuff. So they always kind of like burn for like you said you wanted bloodshed, so get bloodshed kind of thing. So like if Core Sensei didn't want bloodshed, like he said, he just wanted to be weak. He wanted to teach, and he wanted to that kind of stuff. Tentacles are getting all of that kind of stuff, so they're not hurting him. But Jesus, that moon scene, that was, I thought Core Sensei did that to some degree to make the government do what they did kind of thing to get him into teaching. But no, it was an experiment from the people who created Core Sensei to effectively maybe just test the long-term effects of the squid DNA, that kind of thing, tentacle DNA. So they put, I think there's like four, or like there's like a moon base or whatever like that on the moon, and it had a couple rats and stuff in there, living out their lives and everything with the DNA inside of them. And then one detonates, creating, what is it, 75% of the moon was like demolished in an instant, thanks to that one mouse. And they differed, or they took that data and basically applied it to Core Sensei, and they say he's going to die on the certain day, which happens to be the graduation day for E-Class. So it's like, matches up there. Ugh, sorry, hiccup. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting. The whole, there's 2 episodes, 3 episodes, something like that. It was super freaking interesting to like just, I wasn't talking that much because I was just listening, because it was super interesting for me to like sit back and just listen to what was going on, because it was like every theory I had about Core Sensei and everything, most of it was sort of coming true. Most of it was new stuff that I wasn't even conceiving. I never thought he was somebody like he was, because he's the original Reaper, and his prodigy is the Reaper that we saw, the skull face guy. He was the prodigy of Reaper, of Core Sensei, when he was in Reaper form. So yeah, it makes you wonder. Like, I have to, like, jeez, I would love to rewatch this show, and like after I'm done and everything like that, rewatch the show, and just see how far back they started hinting at all this kind of stuff. Because I don't think I've seen maybe a couple instances, like in a couple flashbacks with Kaino. Her, like, because Kaino, so the whole thing with Kaino was like she is the sister of the original teacher for E-Class, and which, like, that part I called the teacher that was dying the original teacher for E-Class. That was correct. I didn't ponder whatever. I'd never conceived the idea that one of the kids in the class was, a sibling of the teacher that died. I would not even consider that, and let alone be it Kaino. Anyways, regardless, yeah. So Kaino is the sister to the original teacher for E-Class, and she was she was involved in the experiments on Core Sensei when he was first getting introduced to the experiment and everything. So she was kind of like I guess you would consider her like the shiny face, or like the friendly face, kind of in the face. She was the friendly face in the experiment, basically, because Core Sensei had to deal with a lot of doctors and everything doing experiments on him and turning his cells into what they do, kind of thing. So Kaino's sister was like the only social interaction he'd have in that whole place. And then kind of thing. So he started falling for her to some degree. She started falling for him to some degree. And I mean, I think they said themselves more than anything, they were just friends, but like they were like old friends in a way, like Carson would say, and like they became old friends pretty quickly. Um, so yeah, it was pretty interesting how that whole relationship kind of blossomed over the course of the time Carson was there. Um, and then I'm guessing it was the tentacles that started to kind of tell Core Sensei to get out, and that's why he was so kind of in a way bloodthirsty there. And then when Kaino's sister was dying, after that, that's when Core Sensei told the tentacles what he wanted, and then booked it basically from there. And then he turned into what we know now is the squid yellow face guy, whatever. Um, but what Kaino saw when she climbed into the building trying to save her sister, she saw a squid creature lurking over her dead sister, and that's it. That's all she saw. And then the note, I guess the note is also what she saw too as well. Yeah, so she saw that and then took it as a revenge plot to kill Koro Sensei with some stolen serum that was on the ground next to her sister. Ended up putting it into the back of her neck, and it caused 2 tentacles to grow. The tentacles started to manifest and everything, but Kaino is she's an actor herself, so that whole part was that was rough to listen to too. The whole thing about her, she lives through the pain every second of every day. She has to live through the pain of the tentacles because she's ignoring them, and to some degree, she's ignoring the tentacles, and the pain is just like shooting through her constantly, and she just lives with it. She's taking it day to day, and she's hiding the fact that she's in pain, and she just is doing it mostly just to get information on Koro Sensei to one day take revenge upon what he did to her sister, kind of thing. But yeah, super freaking interesting plot. Like in a way, plot twist, but like I said, I predicted in my theory parts of the truth. I didn't predict all of it. I predicted parts of the truth. I predicted the girl being the actual legit first E-class teacher. I predicted Koro Sensei was in a experiment gone wrong, and that's how the teacher died. I predicted that bit. I predicted. I think it stops there. My predictions. I didn't get the moon right. Moon I didn't see coming. I didn't see Kaino coming at all. There was no hint of that at all. I never saw the teacher being Kaino's sister. Never saw that. I never saw Koro Sensei being the original Reaper. Never saw that. I, in a way, actually legitly... At first, I didn't call it, but like while it was happening, I started calling... or I called Skullface being the apprentice when he first said he had an apprentice. When Koro Sensei was first telling about his backstory and everything and how he had an apprentice, the moment I heard apprentice, I was like, it could be the one Reaper we saw, and then all of a sudden it was revealed. Like, oh yeah, it is. So I'm wondering, if his apprentice knew of his current state, and if he knew that the Koro Sensei he was fighting is okay. I was wondering if Skullface knew that Koro Sensei was or is his master, and I think maybe that's why he went after him to kind of get him out of the way, because he is legitimately the original Reaper, and his apprentice is Skullface is basically taking up his role as the Reaper, and he's not the real Reaper kind of thing. So I was wondering if that was like his ploy to kind of in a way kill two birds with one stone. He'll get their money for successfully defeating Core Sensei, but also he'll um, keep the role as Reaper. Because like he says he's Reaper and everything, so if he kills the original Reaper, then there's nobody to disagree, kind of thing. That's why I was kind of thinking about it. So yeah, super freaking interesting plot. So basically, on graduation day, which is I think there was like something around 60 days, I think it was. Kora Sensei is effectively going to blow up from the tentacle, I guess, stuff, just like blow up, just basically just like explode. Apparently, we saw the little bit of the rat or the mouse, whatever. When he was in the cage, his tentacles went mad, crazy, and then all of a sudden, just the explosion happened. So something like that might happen with Kora Sensei. Yeah, it's really interesting. Kaino and Nagasa, that was pretty interesting. I mean, good on Nagasa for learning that trick from Irina. The whole, like, kiss thing, whatever. I bet you they learned it from her, or Nagasa learned it from her, because she said in the past she taught him a little bit about her way of assassinating. I'm yawning. So I'd expect Nagasa to learn it from her, basically. But yeah, basically using that technique to kiss Kaino to knock her out in a sense, or like distract her for a certain amount of time for Core Sensei to remove her squid tentacles. Now the big plan is the kids, they don't want to assassinate him anymore. They want to help him. They want to, I would assume, do the same thing Kaino they had to do with Kaino, and just rip out the tentacles that Core Sensei has, basically. Which I think is not going to be the same, because Kaino had two tentacles that were more or less like tree roots, right? They were just like two tentacles in the back of the neck that had like branches of level with the tree branches, kind of thing. Like if you think of tree roots, that's right. That's what word I'm thinking of. Roots. They had roots going into her neck, and as she used them, they got bigger and bigger, and we saw like that basically taking effect, like her face kind of thing, overshadowing with a bunch of roots and everything, eyes changing, all that kind of stuff. The tentacles taking shape and like applying themselves to her, basically. But yeah, so I think it's gonna be definitely different, because that was a case of ripping the roots out and everything before it took hold. But Kora Sensei's body, his DNA is the thing. It's not just like two tentacles kind of thing. It's his entire body is the DNA. They changed his DNA while in the experiment. He is the Prime. He is Tentacle Prime, if you think about that. All the other people, like Itana and Kaino, all of them, they had just little spurts of the stuff into them, and they had to deal with it, kind of thing. And apparently the new 2.0, whatever, the one master guy was talking with, I guess. He had Bill Gunn or whatever. So that's going to be interesting to find out who that guy is, the 2.0 guy. But yeah, so I definitely think it's going to be a lot different than Kaino and Itana. Itana, in some way, still has the DNA in him. His tentacles are still there. They're really degraded and just hardcore destroyed. But he puts that kind of scarf over them to kind of hide that fact and like contain them in a way. Kaino is free of them now. She used to have them, no longer anymore. But yeah, Core Sensei is like genetically the squids. Kaino just had two squid tentacles. Each of them had 4 in the head, I think, in his hair that he used. I think it was 4. So yeah, it's gonna be tricky to get Core Sensei clean of it, basically, because like I said, it's DNA. Like all his DNA was altered and like changed and everything to fit this new kind of body, basically. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to find out what happens next. I'm super pumped to find out what happens next, definitely. Um, Not only what the kids plan to do for the end, but also this new 2.0 Core Sensei kind of thing. I'm sure that's going to come up at some point. Next week, I have 4 episodes. The final week of season 2 is going to be a 5-episode reaction, including the opening as well. And a little bit of extra stuff, I guess, in one of the endings. Some after credit things, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be super freaking awesome. I can't wait. I can probably think of a couple ideas off the top of my head for next week's episodes, basically. If I do come up with anything, I'll let you guys know before they're in the reaction, I should say, before I start it, what I'm thinking, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, it's gonna be freaking sweet. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this episode. What I'm going to be doing for all my shows, if I remember on all my shows, I'm going to be basically at the very end of all my reactions, or redirects, I should say, basically pimping out the Discord. In the link in the description below, and in the description below, there's going to be a link to my Discord channel where we have up to like 150 people in there. Really friendly, super friendly people. There's not a single person that I dislike talking to, so that's awesome. So if you want to hang out and talk, and I'm there all the time. A lot of people are there all the time to talk to. You guys can make friends. You guys can do gaming stuff. There's a whole gaming channel you guys can join and game with people. Talk about anime, talk about spoiler content, that kind of thing. There's a whole channel for that I'm not allowed to be in, that kind of thing. There's chats for each show that I do. There's one for Assassin's Classroom. There's one for, Fairy Tail and Ruby and all that kind of stuff. Every show that I do, there's a channel for you to talk to there. Tons of really, really cool channels. Tons of really cool people. So if you want to hang out in Discord, come and join us. It's fun. And, yeah. Think that's going to be it for today. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. And like I said, tune in next week for 4 episodes, including a after credit scene on 18. That kind of thing. Yes, I had a lot of fun with these episodes. They were sweet. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you guys next week for some more Assassination Classroom. Take care, everybody.